Meet Mariana. She was a top-performing IT support tech who recently stepped into a supervisor role. To prepare, her company sent her to a comprehensive manager training course where she successfully learned the paperwork protocols and the specific coaching models for her team. But back at the office, the training starts to crumble. Mariana is overwhelmed by the administrative load, and more importantly, she feels a deep reluctance to confront employees who are showing up late. She understands the theory of the coaching model, but she's terrified of appearing bossy to her former peers. This friction exists far beyond corporate offices. Consider a junior nurse who notices a senior surgeon forgetting to use his hand sanitizer before an exam. Even with perfect knowledge of infection risks, the social weight of correcting a superior creates a paralyzing level of discomfort. This is the knowing-doing gap, the precise point where abstract logic fails to cross over into real-world action. The chasm is held open by very human forces: anxiety, social discomfort, and the fear of looking foolish. Most instructional design fails by assuming that delivering information is the same as neutralizing the fear that prevents action. If the learner knows what to do but feels too awkward to do it, the training has essentially left them stranded on the wrong side of the gap. To bridge this, we start with scaled rehearsal. Before tackling a high-stakes performance review, a manager like Mariana needs a safe space to role-play the conversation. Practicing with a supervisor or a peer allows her to feel the weight of the words before she has to say them for real. Behavioral economists point to a specific psychological hook here. We are naturally loath to discard something once we've invested time and effort into it. This is the logic of sunk cost. We can use this to our advantage. This graph shows that as we increase the effort invested in a new skill, the likelihood of a learner abandoning that skill drops. By making the practice sessions revolve around the learner's actual real-world problems, we force a deep cognitive investment. Once the learner has put in the work to scale that initial barrier in a controlled environment, psychological loss aversion takes over. They become far more likely to use the skill back on the job because they've already paid for it through their own effort. Active practice is an engineered trap. It makes starting the behavior in the real world require less effort than the learner has already spent practicing it, making continuation the path of least resistance. While a memo from the CEO provides a sense of authority, the person who truly dictates workplace behavior is often the experienced peer in the next cubicle. We look to those around us to determine what is actually required and what is just corporate noise. This is social proof. It's why we value 19 meh reviews from Amazon customers over a publisher's blurb claiming an author is a genius. We trust the experience of those we perceive as being on our level. Project Alert, a drug prevention program for middle schoolers, utilizes this peer-led dynamic. They move away from standard lectures and use interactive games to put the power of choice in the students' hands. The program's design relies on high school students to model the choices. To a 13-year-old, a high schooler is the ultimate arbiter of what is cool and acceptable. By having peers model the behavior, the right choice becomes a social norm rather than a teacher's command. Organizations can scale this by making internal successes visible. Highlighting how an employee like Joan S. successfully managed a new recycling program creates a blueprint for others. It moves the new behavior from a management theory to a peer-validated reality. Leveraging social proof engineers an environment where the once intimidating new behavior becomes the visible, expected norm. However, logic and social pressure have limits. They often fail against immediate primal temptations, like the urge to check a text message while driving, or choosing a decadent dessert over a healthy alternative. Primal desires require a visceral override. We need an experience that hits the elephant, our emotional, instinctive brain, directly, rather than just appealing to the writer, our logical side. Direct simulation provides this override. Some interactive games force you to change lanes while typing, making you feel the terrifying lag in your own reaction time. You don't just read about the danger, you experience your own failure. Shocking emotional imagery works similarly. The Gwent police force produced a video showing the graphic reality of a car crash caused by texting. The viewer watches from inside the car as it drifts over the median line, creating a lasting, visceral memory of the consequences. These experiences, whether through the immediate failure of a simulation or a deep emotional impact, create a primal behavioral anchor. They provide a direct, gut-level reason to follow the rules that raw data alone cannot provide. Effective learning design requires moving past the simple transfer of information. It requires the creation of an engineered psychological journey. That journey relies on 3 pillars: active practice to build a sense of investment, a social environment that provides peer validation, and visceral experiences to anchor the behavior in our emotions. For Mariana, the manager training was only the starting point. To truly succeed, she needed the practice to gain confidence and the peer examples to see that being a boss was simply a new, necessary part of her professional identity. Effective learning design systematically dismantles the psychological barriers that prevent us from acting on what we already know. It turns information into action.